The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was painting in my studio. My brother Marcus's voice was strained. Phoenix, Dad's gone, gone. The word hung in the air like smoke. My father, who had dismissed my art career for years, was dead from a heart attack. The funeral is Saturday, Marcus continued. We all want you there. I almost laughed. Now they wanted me there. After years of being the family disappointment, the cautionary tale they'd whisper about. Poor Phoenix, threw it all away for art. The funeral was exactly what I expected. A sea of black suits, business associates talking about Dad's legacy. I sat in the back row, watching my family play their parts perfectly. Mom, the grieving widow. Marcus, already stepping into the patriarch role. Sophia, the golden child, with her perfect family. And me, Phoenix Carter, the artist. The disappointment. After the service, we gathered at the family home in Win. The walls were lined with photos of Marcus's business achievements, Sophia's wedding, her children. My art was nowhere to be seen, as if I'd been erased from the family narrative. We need to talk, Mom said, leading us to Dad's study. Marcus sat behind Dad's desk, already claiming territory. The will reading is tomorrow, but there are things we need to discuss first. I waited, sensing the storm about to break. Phoenix, Marcus cleared his throat. You're not in the will. The words hit like a physical blow. What do you mean? Dad left everything to Marcus and me, Sophia said gently. The business, properties, investments, everything. And me. Marcus pulled out an envelope. He left you this. Inside was a single sheet in Dad's handwriting. Phoenix, you made your choice when you decided to pursue your art instead of joining the family business. You chose to be a disappointment. I will not reward failure. Your siblings have proven themselves worthy of the Carter legacy. You have not. Live with the consequences of your choices. William Carter. The silence was deafening. I read it twice, then carefully folded it. Phoenix, Mom said softly, you have to understand. I understand perfectly, I interrupted, standing. I understand that my art, my passion, my life's work means nothing to this family. I understand I was never really part of this family to begin with. That's not true, Sophia protested. You're our sister. We love you, love. I laughed bitterly. You love the idea of me conforming to your expectations. But you've never loved who I actually am. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Thank you for making this so clear. Thank you for showing me exactly where I stand. Phoenix, wait, Marcus called. We can work something out. Maybe a small allowance. Keep your charity. I don't need it. I drove straight to the airport and caught the red-eye back to Los Angeles. During the flight, I stared out at the darkness and made a decision that would change everything. They thought I was a failure. They thought my art was worthless. I was going to prove them wrong. Not for them, I was done seeking their approval. For me, for every artist who'd been told their dreams weren't practical, I was going to build something so successful, so undeniably impressive, that they would have to acknowledge what they'd thrown away. The plane touched down at LAX at 6 a.m. I went straight to my studio, looked around at my paintings, and for the first time in years, I didn't see them through my family's eyes. I saw them through my own. They were beautiful. They were meaningful. They were mine. And they were just the beginning. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. Gallery owners, collectors, other artists. It was time to stop playing small. Time to stop apologizing for who I was. The first call was to my friend Maya, who ran a boutique gallery in West Hollywood. Maya, it's Phoenix. How would you feel about representing an artist who's about to take the art world by storm? Phoenix, you sound different. I looked at my reflection in the studio window. For the first time in years, I liked what I saw. Not the disappointment my family saw, but a woman with talent, vision, and nothing left to lose. I'm better than okay, Maya. I'm free. That's when my real life began. 6 months after Dad's funeral, I was living on ramen noodles and determination. My savings were nearly empty, credit cards maxed out, but I'd never been more focused. Dad's letter sat framed on my studio wall not as a reminder of rejection, but as fuel for my fire. Every morning, I'd read those cruel words and feel the surge of defiance that had become my driving force. Maya had been true to her word. My first solo show, Fractured Foundations, sold out on opening night. The paintings about family, belonging, and rejection resonated with people in ways I'd never expected. The LA Times called my work brutally honest and achingly beautiful. But one successful show wasn't enough. I needed more. That's when I met James Chen, a tech entrepreneur who'd bought 3 pieces from my show. Over coffee, he shared his own story of family rejection and building success despite the odds. Phoenix, you have something special, but you're thinking too small, he said. I have the business experience and capital. You have the artistic vision and drive. Together, we could create something revolutionary. That conversation led to Phoenix Rising, a multimedia art company that would become my empire. We started with an online presence, showcasing not just my art, but my story. The narrative of the family black sheep who'd been written off resonated worldwide. Within weeks, my social media following exploded. Everyone loves an underdog story, James explained. But more than that, everyone has felt rejected by someone they loved. Your story is universal. We launched limited edition prints of my most popular pieces. The first run sold out in 3 days. The second in hours. Suddenly, we had thousands on waiting lists. Over the next year, Phoenix Rising grew from 2 people to a team of 15. We launched a lifestyle brand, opened stores in West Hollywood and New York, started offering online art classes. The real breakthrough came when Oprah's people called. Oprah wants to feature you, my publicist said. She's doing a segment on people who've overcome family rejection to build successful businesses. Sitting across from Oprah in her Chicago studio, ironically 20 miles from my family, I felt unexpected calm. Phoenix, you've built a multi-million-dollar business from nothing, but it started with painful rejection from your own family. Tell us about that. I told the story, the funeral, the will, the letter. I read Dad's words on national television. How did that make you feel? Oprah asked. Devastated, but also liberated. For the first time, I stopped trying to be who they wanted and started being who I actually was. And who is that? Someone who believes success isn't just about money, it's about impact. My art has helped people heal from family trauma, find their creative voice, build confidence. That's worth more than any inheritance. The interview aired Tuesday. By Wednesday, my website crashed from traffic. By Friday, we'd received orders worth over $2 million. But the call that mattered most came Sunday. Phoenix, it's Marcus. His voice was hesitant. I saw the Oprah interview. We had no idea how successful you'd become. What do you want, Marcus? I want to apologize. We were wrong. Dad was wrong. You weren't a failure. We were too blind to see your success. I waited. Phoenix, the business is in trouble. Bad investments, legal issues. We're looking at bankruptcy. You're the only one in the family who's actually successful right now. Maybe you could help us rebuild. I looked around my penthouse apartment, at the original paintings, at the view of the city where I'd built my empire from nothing. Marcus, do you remember Dad's letter? Live with the consequences of your choices. Maybe it's time for all of you to do exactly that. Phoenix, please, we're family. No, family doesn't abandon each other. Family doesn't write cruel letters. Family doesn't exclude people because they chose a different path. I hung up and sat in the silence, feeling something unexpected. Peace. I'd won. Not just financially, but emotionally. I'd proven their definition of success was narrow and limited. But more importantly, I'd learned I didn't need their validation anymore. I had built something beautiful without them, and that was enough. The next morning, I called James. I want to start a foundation for young artists whose families don't support their dreams. Scholarships, mentorship programs, gallery opportunities. What do you want to call it? I thought about Dad's letter, about the pain that drove me to succeed, about the family that rejected me and was now begging for help. The Black Sheep Foundation, for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong, because sometimes not belonging to the wrong family is the best thing that can happen to you. 3 years after Marcus's desperate call, Phoenix Rising had become a household name. Forbes featured me as one of the top 40 under 40 entrepreneurs, and my net worth had surpassed my entire family's inheritance combined. But success came with complications. I was in my New York office when my assistant knocked. Phoenix, there's someone here to see you. She says she's your sister. Sophia entered, looking nothing like the polished woman I remembered. Her designer clothes were replaced by a simple black dress. She looked tired, older, defeated. Phoenix, thank you for seeing me. What can I do for you, Sophia? She clutched her worn purse. It's Emma, my daughter. She's sick. Emma, my niece. I remembered a bright, curious little girl, with a smile that could light up a room. What's wrong, leukemia? She's been fighting it for 8 months. The treatments are so expensive. Our insurance covers some, but not enough. What do you need? There's an experimental treatment. It's not covered because it's still in trials, but the results are promising. It could save her life. How much? $200,000. I didn't flinch. And you came to me because ... Sophia's composure cracked. Because I've exhausted every option. We've sold everything. We need help. And you're the only person we know who has this kind of money. Sophia, do you remember what you said at Dad's funeral, when I was cut out of the will? I said we loved you. You said you loved me, but you didn't fight for me. You didn't question Dad's decision. You thought it was justified to exclude me because I chose art. Phoenix, that was years ago. This is about Emma, not old family drama. Old family drama. I stood, walking to the window. You and Marcus inherited millions. You could have shared some with me, not because I needed it, but because it would have been right. Instead, you watched me walk away with nothing. We thought you'd be fine. You were always so independent. The point is, you only see me as family when you need something. When I was struggling, I was disposable. Now that I'm successful, suddenly I'm worth acknowledging. Emma is dying. Phoenix. She's 8 years old. The words hit like a physical blow. 8 years old. The same age I'd been when I first showed my family a painting, only to have Dad dismiss it as a waste of time. I'll pay for the treatment. Sophia's face lit up with relief. Thank you. I knew you'd. I'm not finished. I'll pay because she's an innocent child who deserves a chance at life. Because it's the right thing to do. I pulled out my checkbook, but understand something. This doesn't make us family again. This doesn't erase years of rejection. This doesn't mean I forgive you. Phoenix, we're still your family. We made mistakes. You made choices. You chose to support Dad's decision. You chose to believe my dreams were worthless. Those weren't mistakes, they were choices that revealed who you really are. I wrote the check and handed it to her. Emma will get her treatment. But after this, we're done. Don't call me for Christmas. Don't invite me to gatherings. Don't reach out when the next crisis hits. Sophia stared at the check. You've changed, Phoenix. You've become hard. I've become strong. There's a difference. After she left, I sat alone, staring out at the city skyline. I felt hollow in a way. Success had never filled. I'd won, but victory could be a lonely place. That evening, I told James about Sophia's visit. You did the right thing, he said, helping Emma while maintaining your boundaries. Then why do I feel so empty? Because you're human. Because part of you still wishes things could have been different. But Phoenix, you can't save people who don't want to be saved. 6 months later, I received a card. It was a photo of Emma, bald from chemotherapy but smiling brightly, holding a certificate declaring her candidacy on the back, in a child's handwriting. Thank you, Aunt Phoenix. I love you. I cried when I read it, not from sadness, but from joy, relief, and something that might have been healing. Emma was alive. That was what mattered. That night, I called my lawyer. I want to set up a trust fund for Emma, for her education, her future, something her parents can't touch, something that will be there when she's old enough to make her own choices, help much enough to ensure she never has to depend on anyone else for her dreams, because maybe the next generation could break the cycle. Maybe Emma would grow up knowing she was loved unconditionally, that her dreams mattered. Maybe that was how you won, not by destroying your enemies, but by ensuring the innocent didn't suffer for their parents' sins. Maybe that was how you turned pain into purpose, rejection into resilience, betrayal into something beautiful. 7 years after that devastating day in Dad's study, Phoenix Rising operated in 12 countries, employed over 300 people, and our foundation had helped over 1,000 young artists worldwide. I was preparing for my most important exhibition when the call came. Phoenix Carter. This is Dr. Sarah Williams from Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. I have difficult news about your mother, Mom. I hadn't spoken to her since the funeral, though I'd heard she was struggling with dementia. She's had a stroke, a significant one. She's stable, but her condition is serious. She's been asking for you, asking for me. She keeps saying Phoenix and my daughter. She seems agitated around the family but calms when we mention your name. I'll be there. At the hospital, I found only Emma in the waiting room. She was 15 now, tall and beautiful, with bright eyes that lit up when she saw me. Aunt Phoenix. She hugged me. Grandma's been asking for you for days. Mom and Uncle Marcus are struggling. They keep arguing about medical decisions and money. The nurse led me to Mom's room. She looked nothing like the perfectly put-together matriarch I remembered, smaller, frailer, her hair thin and gray, but her eyes were still sharp. "Phoenix, is that really you?" I sat beside her bed. "Yes, Mom, it's me." Tears streamed down her face. "I thought you'd never come back, after what we did. After what your father did, ... I'm here now. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Your father was so stubborn, so convinced there was only one way to be successful. But you ... look what you've built." "Mom, no, let me say this. I may not have much time left. I've been watching you on television, in magazines. I have a scrapbook. Mima brings me articles. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. So proud." The words I'd waited my entire life to hear. "I kept all your paintings from when you were little. There in the attic. I never threw them away, even when your father said I should. I always knew you were special. Then, why didn't you fight for me? When Dad cut me out, why didn't you stand up for me?" Mom's face crumpled. "Because I was a coward. I'd spent 40 years letting your father make decisions. I was afraid if I chose you, I'd lose everything else. So you chose to lose me instead." "Yes. And it was the worst mistake of my life. Can you forgive me, Phoenix? I know I don't deserve it, but can you forgive a foolish old woman who loved you but didn't know how to show it?" Before I could answer, Marcus and Sophia entered. They stopped short, seeing me. "I didn't know you were coming," Marcus said carefully. "Don't blame Phoenix for staying away." Mom's voice was sharp despite her weakness. "We drove her away. We made our choices." "I'm dying," Mom said simply. "And before I go, I need to make something clear. Phoenix, you are my daughter, and I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry for every day I didn't tell you that." She turned to Marcus and Sophia. "Phoenix doesn't owe us anything. Not forgiveness, not help, not her presence. She's here because she has a good heart, not because of any obligation. I'm leaving you something in my will, Phoenix. Not money, I know you don't need that. But your paintings, the ones I saved, and a letter I wrote years ago but never had the courage to send." Marcus spoke up. "Phoenix, you're still our sister. You're still family." I looked at this man who had once been my big brother, who had taught me to ride a bike before family expectations changed him into someone I barely recognized. "Marcus, family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up for each other. It's about supporting dreams, even when you don't understand them. It's about love without conditions." "We can do better," Sophia said quietly. "We can try to be the family you deserved, maybe, but it would have to be different this time. It would have to be real." Mom squeezed my hand. "Phoenix, whatever you decide about this family, know that you've already won. You've built something beautiful, something meaningful. You've proven that love and art and dreams matter more than money or status or family approval." When I left the hospital, Emma walked me to my car. "Are you going to come back?" "I don't know, sweetheart. It's complicated, I know, but you're the only one who's actually happy. Maybe you could teach the rest of us how to do that." I hugged her goodbye. "Emma, you have my number. You can call me anytime. Whatever happens with the family, you and I we're good. I love you, Aunt Phoenix. I love you too, kiddo." As I drove away, I thought about forgiveness and family, and the price of holding on to anger. I thought about the exhibition opening next week, about the new artists we were featuring, about the life I'd built from the ashes of rejection. I thought about Dad's letter, the one that had driven me to prove him wrong, and realized I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. I had built my empire, found my success, created my own definition of family and belonging. The question now wasn't whether I was successful, it was what I wanted to do with that success, what kind of legacy I wanted to leave. My phone buzzed with a text from James. "How did it go?" I pulled over and typed back, "Complicated, but maybe that's okay. Maybe complicated is just another word for human. Coming home soon." I looked back toward the hospital, then ahead toward the airport, then at the city where I'd grown up feeling like I didn't belong. "Soon, but I think I have one more thing to do here first. Because maybe it was time to stop running from my past and start healing it instead. Not for them, but for me. Not because they deserved it, but because I did." Maybe that was what true success looked like, not just building something beautiful, but having the strength to extend grace even when it wasn't earned. Maybe that was how you really won, not by destroying your enemies, but by refusing to let them destroy you. The choice, as always, was mine. 1 year later, I stood in the main gallery of the Phoenix Rising Arts Center in Chicago, a building I'd purchased and transformed into a space for emerging artists. Tonight was the opening of Fractured Foundations, a decade of rising. My retrospective exhibition. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was back in the city that had rejected me, in a building worth more than my father's entire estate, surrounded by people who celebrated my art instead of dismissing it. Mom had passed away 6 months ago. True to her word, she'd left me my childhood paintings and a letter apologizing for every year she'd failed to support my dreams. I'd attended her funeral for Marcus or Sophia, but for the woman who'd finally found the courage to tell me she was proud. Aunt Phoenix. Emma appeared beside me, now 16 and radiant in her prom dress. She'd insisted on attending the opening before her school dance. The painting of Grandma's hands, it's beautiful. I smiled, looking at the piece she referenced. I'd painted it from memory, Mom's hands holding one of my childhood drawings, the one she'd secretly kept all these years. She would have loved seeing this, Emma continued. All of it. You've turned this whole building into something magical. Marcus approached us, looking uncomfortable in his rented tuxedo. The family business had indeed failed, and he now worked as a financial consultant. Humbling but honest living. Phoenix, this is incredible. I never imagined. He gestured around the gallery. I owe you an apology, a real one. We were wrong about everything. I know, I said simply. But Marcus, I didn't build this to prove you wrong. I built it because it was right for me. Sophia joined us, her eyes red from crying as she'd walked through the exhibition. The scholarship program you've created. Emma told me you're funding 50 students this year. 52, actually. Kids whose families don't support their artistic dreams. Like us, Marcus said quietly. We were those families. Yes, but you can choose to be different now. With Emma, with her generation. James appeared with a champagne flute. The mayor wants to meet you. Something about commissioning a public art piece. As I walked away with James, Emma called after me, Aunt Phoenix, thank you for showing us that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who chooses to love and support you. I paused, looking back at my niece, my brother, my sister, flawed people who were finally learning what love without conditions looked like. You're welcome, sweetheart. You're all welcome. Because in the end, I'd discovered something more valuable than revenge, the power to break cycles, to choose grace over grudges, and to build something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal. I hadn't just risen from my family's rejection, I'd transformed it into a foundation for others to rise to. That was my true inheritance. That was my real victory.